What's good, everyone? It's Effie here. More and more people are currently not happy with Tekken 8, and they're saying it out loud on social media platforms like Twitter. This is something that affects also other players, like the players who enjoy Tekken as well. So this is a problem that currently we have in this community. This game already is almost 3 months old. People need to get used to the new mechanics. Even though we got like the alpha and the closed beta, the CNT, a lot of things that change till then, and a lot of things are still unusual for Tekken players. If you think about it, chip damage never existed in Tekken until this Tekken, Tekken 8. And chip damage is something we witnessed in other fighting games. But for 3D fighting games, it's actually very uncommon to have something like this. Therefore, people say it doesn't feel like Tekken anymore. Like it is too many, these are too many forced mix-ups. Heat is very strong or too broken. Chip damage is killing defense. Blocking becomes useless. Heat smashes barely have weaknesses. Heat bursts are too strong. There are many points like that top players are complaining about. And this is okay. It's their opinion. But what are the solutions for every type of player? I think we have like 4 answers for that, or 4 approaches in total. One of the approaches is don't play it. Less and less people will continue to play it. And therefore, the company will notice it that less and less people will play it if so many people are not satisfied with it. It might be tough because you're used to play Tekken all the time, but still you can play the previous Tekken. They're not disappeared. So maybe playing the older Tekkens, or do some boycott and force yourself not to play. But if you play the game and still be unhappy about a lot of things, then you won't be satisfied if you have the same mindset over and over again. The second approach. It's actually the same. Don't play it and complain about it in social media platforms. Like people like to write hashtag Tekken8 underscored report, I think. If you're using this hashtag, this means there's something wrong in the game. And probably the developers will notice it because the developers are active on Twitter and pay attention to every or a lot of issues that exist. But I would recommend personally that this criticism is constructive. Don't be too personal, don't be too emotional about that. If you're not happy with the game though, you can obviously say that because this is your gaming experience that get affected. Third approach. Play it. Try to adapt. Try to understand the mechanics. Try to understand what's going on in Tekken 8. It's a super different game from Tekken 7. Even though it's only 1 versus 1, it's so different. Like heat is a complete new and unique mechanic that never existed. People need to get used to this. It's not easy and it takes time. Like I forced myself for many hours in the beginning to understand the heat mechanics and to understand the combo mechanics with heat, which I didn't understand in the beginning. But it took me many hours. I can guarantee you that. So take your time. In the previous Tekkens, we used more and more time to understand the games. Like the meta did change as well after time. Be constructive with your criticism. You can criticize the game still, or maybe you should, because certain things are not balanced overall. If you think about certain characters that are terrorizing online, then you will see a certain pattern. Even though the top tiers are not always there, but the chances that top tiers will win is very likely high, very high in Tekken 8. You can still or should criticize it while you're playing it, because the developers also need to understand and learn what they should improve in the game. It's the first official year of the game release. In the previous Tekken, we had arcade versions. Arcade versions were a help for the developers to understand how moves do work and which moves are good or like balanced or not. In this case, they barely had testing versions to see which moves were were decent or not. You might expect, okay, they got experience from the previous Tekkens, but still, for every new Tekken game, something new needs to happen, and they want to add something new. So maybe they do it intentionally, that certain moves are that strong, so we see these characters more often. They have their own reasons for that, but you can, or you should, uh, ask for the reasoning. Recently, when they bring up the patch notes, they also explain their changes and why they do certain things. This is also very transparent from the developers, which is really appreciated for the community. But give the developers time. I'm pretty I'm pretty convinced that they will understand and change certain things, even though they do not seem balanced right now. You also need to keep in mind, Tekken 8 is supposed to be different than Tekken 7. If it would behave with the frames and with all the things around it the same or similar to Tekken 7, it would be boring. We waited for like 7 years after the console release for Tekken 8. Or the arcade players even waited for like 9 years for Tekken 8. So this is something, it takes time. And year after year, a lot of things to change. The season 1 of Tekken 7 was a completely different game than at the end of Tekken 7. So this might be the case also for Tekken 8. Give it a try and don't lose faith. The fourth approach is to accept the game, play it, and try to adapt. Trying to adapt to all the things that matters is, I think, in my opinion, the healthiest way to improve. Even though you don't like a lot of things, which is fine. If you criticize the game, please stay constructive with your criticism. Don't be too emotional about it. Keep in mind that the Tekken developers want to be a different approach of the game. The theme or the title of the game is offense. And if you don't like the offense, then you should criticize what you don't like about the offense and if they can add some defense input. But offense is the main thing of Tekken 8, and I don't think they will change it. Because if you're advertising your game like that, then your priority is to attack, which is fine, in my opinion. Unless you have a few defensive options. It could be even less than Tekken 7, but there should be certain defensive options. If there are not many of them, or if there are only one or two defensive options, then it gets frustrating. Point 4, or aspect 4. If you're accepting the game and play the game, I think you will understand it faster and adapt faster than anyone else if you enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, don't stuck to at the game. You don't need to play it. It's something you need to keep in mind. There are still the previous Tekkens, if you want to play the previous Tekkens or this style. But Tekken 8 has a new style. And the more you play the game, the more you will understand certain situations, moves, movements, chip damage, heat, throw system, and so on. So this is something, after 3 months, it's too short to judge the game, I think. It needs a few months to adapt. I would say Tekken 8 is even very difficult, even though you have limited options in your defense. It still has some depth in the game, and you should utilize all the tools that you got. So you need to keep in mind there are new mechanics in the game, new priorities. Meta is not evolved, and it takes time to understand the meta in tournaments. We have seen some local tournaments here and there, but since the Tekken World Tour did start, we will figure out more big tournaments and see how the meta will evolve. If you compare Tekken 7 Season 1 and the beginning, how the meta was and how it was at the end, completely different games. Completely different games. So give it time and try to get used to. Don't force yourself. Keep in mind, still, it's the first year of release. Barely testing was possible. No arcades for the games. So this is the first Tekken 8 version. And since they're testing stuff, certain moves, certain mechanics will be updated, will be changed. So don't worry about certain things. Try to understand these and try to get used to certain stuff. Maybe they will add more properties or different properties to heat moves. Maybe heat gaining bar for your heat again will be changed. So there are certain things that will change that as a competitive player, or if you want to play competitive, you should adapt. Me personally, I'm having a lot of fun with Tekken 8. I'm not gonna lie. People ask me privately, like, do you really like the game? Is it something? Is it a game that you enjoy? You don't need to. You don't need to fake it out. So, what is your opinion? And I'm saying it privately and also publicly. I really enjoy it. It's a very fun game. The type of offense is very fun, but I still don't understand it completely. Like the rhythm, the timings, the change the priorities with throws do affect the whole game. The heat does affect a lot. When do I use heat? In the beginning, at the end, heat engages. So there are so many useful things that we need to keep in mind. If we if I want to play the game properly, I need to remember a lot of things, and I'm learning it. Certain things, obviously, I don't like. I'm not gonna lie. Certain properties, like I can tell you which things I don't like. Throws being homings. Like you can only duck them or backdash them, and in certain situations you can't even backdash them. This is too strong. Counter throw property is good. Homing throw, no. Heat engages on block on the wall are plus 17 minimum. This is too much, I think. For especially certain heat engages are usually unsafe, but when you use them on the wall, like Dragonov's 121, you need to block and endure, and they are plus 17 against a character who's already super strong. So I think they could change it. Plus 5 in the in the neutral is already enough. Okay. Okay. Certain heat smashes are too strong, in my opinion. Like if they whiff, it's too difficult to whiff punish, or almost impossible to whiff punish them. This is something that should change. Also, another point that I really dislike about heat smashes: only rage arts and throws can win against heat smashes. These are not many options if you think about your defensive options. This is something that people complain as well. Like you are forced to block against these heat smashes, even though could potentially use your power crush, but against heat smashes it doesn't work, unfortunately. That's why I would think heat smashes should be power crushed at least. And my personal opinion is get rid of moves that gains your heat or that gets your heat back. This makes heat too strong, in my opinion. Heat should be a limited option to use and not an basically infinite option. But still, even though I'm complaining or um, listed my criticism about the things that I don't like, I still try to understand and still try to adapt. Even though it doesn't work perfectly, it's still worth it for me to try it out. And I'm enjoying it because I know there is potential for even more. What I also like about the game is like The look, it looks amazing. The performance, like the graphics, the atmosphere, the the sounds, visually, the audio, everything is so cool. It's way cooler than any other Tekken. And this is what I really enjoy. Characters have more personality. Like every character has his unique style. It wasn't like Tekken 7 that basically every character was like, if I think about it back, like the characters had barely a personality in Tekken 7. Like only the intro. Now I feel like I can I can feel the characters better. It sounds weird, but there's more identity to every character. But the balancing still needs to get adjusted, but I'm sure it will take time and it will happen. I'm very certain of it. That's why, to everyone who's enjoying it, don't get discouraged about other people. Enjoy it. There are many people who are enjoying it right now. Oh, okay. For all the people who are enjoying Tekken, keep on playing. If you like it, if you're having fun with the game, keep on playing. Don't get discouraged by other players. This is their opinion, and maybe they are just frustrated about their own performance or how Tekken did change. But every Tekken did change if you think about it. Like, but this is an approach of Tekken to be more aggressive, and if they want to be like that, we need to accept it. We don't need to play it. If you don't like it, don't force it, but play it at least. But you should give it a chance. This is very important in my opinion. And 3 months is, I think, in total not enough to understand this game. It should take more time for you. So if you liked the video about my opinion and about the approach on how to deal with the negativity or the negative feedback about Tekken, feel free to post it in the comments below. I'm in general interested to talk about my opinion about certain topics. If you would like to see more about these things, feel free to write it in the comments. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it so far, and see you hopefully in the next video again.